Welcome to the 111 Approach podcast, your go-to space for deep thoughts, real talk, and exploration of everything from spirituality to self-development and the mysteries of life with some light-hearted humour along the way. I'm your host, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer, and each episode will dive into different topics, sometimes personal, sometimes thought-provoking, but always authentic. So whether you're here for some new perspectives, inspiration, or just a fresh take on the world with a bit of randomness thrown into the mix, you're definitely in the right place. So what are you waiting for? Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the 111 Approach podcast. As always, we start with gratitude, so thank you so much for lending me your time and your ears. I'm so excited for you to be here because this is a very special episode. Now, from the last couple of episodes, you might have already gathered by now, your girl likes to do things a little differently wherever possible. Cue last episode, my inherent need to stand out from the crowd and be unique and an individual, just like everyone else. I'll pause to let that sink in for a second. Anyway, so usually when people host a podcast, they usually wait a while before having a guest on. Well, from the podcast that I have listened to anyway. Now, before you all come at me and bombard me with messages about how Stephen Bartlett always has a guest on his show, I'm talking about solo podders. Is that even a word? Well, it is now. You heard it here first. Most solo podders, solo podcasters, wait to invite a guest on. Well, not me. I have my first guest already lined up for you today. Now, she is a powerhouse, a super talented, multifaceted, award-winning celebrity makeup artist with clients such as Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek, Sonam Kapoor and Twinkle Khanna, two huge Bollywood actresses, to name but a few, Malala Yousafzai, and many, many more. She is unique in her services as a makeup artist because she goes over and above and beyond the norm. She's so passionate about what she does, and she's an incredible and beautiful being who has a passion and purpose to break down stereotypes, like me, to help save the planet through her eco ways, like me, who loves to raise awareness for great causes, like me, and who is also an advocate for feminism and equality across the board, like me. So it's no surprise that my first ever guest is so much like me, because she's my sister. Welcome to the pod, Ganga. Or should I say Ganga Moi? So for the listeners at home, that's a little inside joke because MUA, Moi, stands for makeup artist. And I used to always tease Ganga and call her Mr. Muagi. Well, anyway, welcome. Thank you for being here and popping my guest cherry for the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Really appreciate that. And for the introduction as well. You are my OG hype woman, so thank you very much. So everyone, yes, my name is Ganga. I'm a celebrity and premium bridal makeup artist, and I've been in the industry for over 18 years, and I specialise in airbrush makeup. And I will say that I wouldn't be doing this job if it wasn't for Lakshmi herself. So thank you, because I would have been doing something completely different.
That's correct. So you would be on a different path if it hadn't been for obviously something major that happened in your life. So would you care to share that journey into how you got into makeup and the industry?
Yes, absolutely. So I was meant to go and do a maths and economics degree when I finished my A-levels. Basically, a month before my exams, me and my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, were how should I say, we were not attending school when we should have been, and we're
Excuse me. We're all about being.
Act like you don't know this. You know this.
No, I'm just saying. Excuse me. I need to correct you there because this podcast is all about being honest and open and authentic. So there's no need to be politically correct or trying to admit that you were playing hooky.
Yeah, I mean, this happened that many years ago now. I don't think anyone really cares. But essentially, we were skipping school and hanging around in the city centre, and we got mugged. A couple of guys had come up to us a few times, and the third or fourth time they came up to us, they just were like, "Oh, sorry to disturb the peace," and then they basically punched my partner in the face, punched me in the head. The guy that punched me must have had a chunky ring or something on, because it knocked me out, took a big chunk of my skin out. I fell on a steel bench, was unconscious for, I think, 10 or 11 seconds. I didn't have a clue what was going on when I woke up. There was just like blood everywhere. And yeah, this was literally a month before my exams, and I was traumatized, and I struggled to revise for my exams. I'll be honest, I don't know how I still got my placement, but because of that trauma, mum and dad had just basically said, don't go to uni, don't do the degree, just take a year out. And I think they were probably worried about me as well, because I was a bit of a wuss back then. Like, I didn't know how to stand up for myself, and this was just another knock to my self-esteem. So I took that year out and didn't really know what I was doing in that year. I was just kind of waiting for it to pass. And then luckily you were the one that said, why don't you go do a makeup degree, because we've got so many girls in the family and it'd be really handy to have a makeup artist. What you really meant, let's be honest, go and learn makeup, because I don't know how to do it and you can just do mine for me. Is that true?
Bingo!
Yes, this many years later, I've figured out why she told me to go do this course.
Can I just interrupt one second? You were really good, because you used to practice on my nails, remember? And you used to do nail art on me. And I was like, wow, you're actually really creative. I'm definitely not creative at all. Ganga was...
You are.
To
You
a
are with
point.
some bits. I think we all have a bit of a... I think everybody in the world has a bit of a creative bone in them.
That
it's
is
just
true.
how it comes out. Now, I wouldn't have classed myself as creative, but then I do find parts of me, like, when I'm in like doing makeup and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I am creative. I clearly am, obviously, otherwise I'm still going to be here doing what I do. But yeah, obviously I went and did that degree, didn't really think much of it because I still planned to go to uni. And in that lead up to waiting for uni, I think that's when my mum got ill. Well, my mum got ill.
And my mum first.
She was your mum first, that's very true. And yeah, I just never went back to do that degree. And it's so crazy to think that if I had, where would my life have been? I don't even know, like, I can't even imagine. But now I kind of think that I'm so grateful to that guy who punched me, because I feel like he punched me in the right direction.
Wow, that was so powerful that you said that. Like, just that sentence just sent some chills down my spine in the best way. Side note, when I get chills and tingling sensations, that's downloads and my guides and spirit team talking to me. So I actually read that on your reel, which is why I wanted you to come on and talk about it. It really resonated with me when you said that the guy punched you in the right direction. You know, I never used to get it when people used to say, you'll turn this into a triumph. And at the time when you're in it, you're thinking, how this is absolutely awful. But can you give a bit of advice on how you managed to do that? Because that happened in 2006, so almost 20 years ago. When did you actually realize that I'm not upset by that anymore? I've actually seen that as a blessing.
Okay, so truly, if I'm answering that honestly, because I thought I had healed from it pre-COVID, but then I realized after Dad passed that I was really triggered when people had, I think it had come up when, I won't mention who, a family member had said something about how I wasn't, they said something, I remember they were giving our condolences to us over the phone, and they said something, yeah, Ganga wasn't the very bright one. And I was just like, where had this all come from? When we were younger, I was bullied for being the nerd. Come on, and now just because I didn't go to the university, it's like that role that I was joked about is just completely flipped. And it really triggered me. And that's when I had to go back and look on my journey. And I thought I'd healed from that incident that happened, and I realized that I hadn't, because I hadn't told people about it. I kept it hidden for so long that even in school, only my form tutors, my like maths teacher, my psychology teacher, only those 4 or 5 handful of the adults knew, and only my best friend at the time and my cousin, who was also in my school, only them two were actually aware of the incident that happened. And that's when I realized even though being through counseling, I was not actually okay, because I'd hidden that story for so long. And then when I decided to kind of like look back on that journey of my life and how I got to where I was, I think it was like 2021, and at the end of 2020, when it was like really quiet for work, I started doing some accountancy work, and I kind of had this glimpse into what my life would have been like if I had gone and done that degree. And for me, it just wasn't, I think I would never have thrived in that type of environment, given the type of personality that I am. And that's when I was like, I need to make sure that 2021 when the industry starts up again properly, that I bounce back. And I did. And that's when I really secured a lot more high profile clients, worked with celebrities more often. And I think that's really when I actually healed from it. And I'd say if you're someone that has been through something similar, at the time it's really difficult to look at why that's happened. I think we question it as humans a lot. Why did this happen? Why did that person pass away? Why did this happen? But actually, I think sometimes it's good to imagine what your life would have been like had that thing not happened. And sometimes you'll naturally tend to think of the more positive thing and then again revert back to, i.e. when dad passed away, right? Sometimes we look at we think, if he was here, we still would have had certain experiences. But then if that hadn't happened, if these things hadn't happened, if I hadn't got punched in the head, I would have been doing this. I would have done this degree, been in an industry that I wouldn't have enjoyed. And I think that's the best way to possibly get through it. I only am okay with that story now and have healed from it because I've experienced what my life would have been like had I gone and done that degree. And that's when I think I had that switch.
Yeah, that's so true. Thank you so much for sharing that. There were a few points that I wanted to pick up on there. And but you're so right. You're almost like, what's his name, Ebenezer Scrooge. You got a little glimpse into what your future would have been like had you gone on a different path when you took that accountancy job, and it kind of just cemented, no, I'm on the right path. Because I remember actually we had a conversation, and you were, feeling a certain way about the makeup industry, and you felt like you wanted to do something with more purpose and help more people.
Yeah, I mean, I still do, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I know you do. And I remember saying to you, you have an amazing platform. And yes, you're in an industry where, it's sometimes very fickle and superficial, but you can be that change. I remember telling you that. I says, you're there for a reason. You have a really good platform. You've got a voice. You share so much and raise so much awareness. It doesn't always have to be industry related, and that's what I love about you, because you always bring in the realness, the authenticness, and things that actually matter. And just because people are following you for makeup, it doesn't mean that you can't educate them or raise awareness to them. So the other thing I wanted to sort of highlight from what you just said there as well is, you're right, revelations like the one that you've had firstly take time to transpire. It's been almost 20 years since that,
Wow.
and your awareness came 16 years after that incident happened. So people who are listening, even though you might have had some situations in the past that have been not very nice, and you're still trying to find the lesson in them, they do say it takes time. So I know for myself, it's quite interesting to see how things unfold as you get older, because they say everything happens for a reason, and the hard times and the tragedies end up sometimes being some of the greatest diversions and lessons, as you've mentioned. For myself, one of those was, when a friend committed suicide when I was, I think, about 26, 20, yeah,
Mid
26.
20s, right?
Went through so much trauma and grief, and it was actually that I used to get triggered a lot of the time, like you said, and I couldn't handle it very well. But that awful situation actually ended up saving me when I was going through some form of, it must have been depression, or I don't know what it was, but I was having some really dark thoughts. I just wasn't myself. And I just wanted to end it all. But sometimes the only thing that was keeping me getting out of bed was just remembering how much pain and suffering I saw his family go through, and obviously me as his friends and other of our friend groups. And I was just like, I could never put my loved ones through that. And now I'm not saying, everyone who commits suicide, sometimes, it can be due to other mental issues or instability, and sometimes it can happen by accident. So there's lots of different things. So at the end of the day, it was just something that was so awful actually
Saved your life,
saved my
basically.
life. And it is important to note that these things do take time to transpire. And you touched upon when we lost Dad. I mean, losing our dad in 2020 during the first lockdown is hands down like the most horrific and worst experience I think our family's ever gone through right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know about you, G, but I'm still yet to find the lesson in this. So, it's coming up to 5 years now, and just remembering that things take time. They say time's a healer. I don't agree with that for
I
say,
disagree,
but I
yeah.
do say it does help. It helps to find lessons in those tragedies. So thank you so much for sharing that and being open and vulnerable. And another thing I wanted to ask you about was when you just mentioned, you said one of the reasons you think you didn't heal from that was because you kept it hidden and you
Yeah,
hadn't told
definitely.
anybody about it.
Well, yeah, really essentially it was only our family, as in mom, dad, you, Sanj, and that was it really. I realised that nobody knew why I went and did a makeup degree.
Mm.
No one actually understood. Like, I remember it being questioned again. Another family member had said something about Ganga's doing a makeup degree. Really? I remember that. I specifically, it's like ingrained in my head. We're never going to trust Ganga to do makeup. And, it's just crazy looking back on it. And at that point, I was young. I hadn't healed from that trauma. So I didn't have the guts to stand up and say, do you actually know why I did it? Now, I would tell anybody, just because you're in the beauty industry, they all think that it's beauty and no brains, and that's not the case. I've met several people in my industry where they're also judged a similar field, and it's like, just because we haven't gone a conventional route doesn't mean that we don't have the brains on us.
I love that. And I am going to ask you to come back on this podcast. And I think we're going to do a little mini series together, sister,
Ooh,
because
that.
that is a topic I want to talk more about. So I'm just conscious of the time, and because I am the 1 minute healer. So we want to keep these episodes in sizable chunks for you all. So thank you so much for coming on. We will definitely get you back on to explore that topic a little bit further, because I'm sure our listeners will be wanting to discover and can probably resonate with a lot of the things that you talked about. So thank you so much for being here, Ganga. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Is there anything you'd like to promote? Where can we find you? And your closing statements, please.
Well, firstly, thank you once again for having me on here. It's been great talking about my journey. I don't really reflect on it that often, but I'm trying to do that. So thank you for having me on here and discussing that. And yes, you can find me on Instagram. I've got 2 accounts. There's the @Ganga Makeup, which is all my wedding and content work. And then my celebrity and editorial can be found on @Ganga MUA. Mua, as you like to say. I had to use it in some ways because I couldn't have 2 Ganga makeup accounts because it wasn't allowed. So unfortunately, I did have to actually have the @Ganga Mua. So
the Muwagi lives on.
But yes, thank you so much for having me, and I very much look forward to coming back.
Amazing. So on this podcast, we always end with a 1 minute healing meditation. So I'm going to ask you all, as always, if it is safe to do so, please, if you are driving, I do not want to be responsible for people driving with their eyes closed. So just if it is safe for you to do so, close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Hold for a few seconds and then breathe out through your mouth. Now I want you to put your hand over your heart and just connect with that energy that you can feel. And if you can't feel it, you know that this is where your true sense of self lies. That inner knowing, that inner being, your soul self. And this soul has gone through so many experiences in this lifetime. Some good, some bad. So I'm just asking for us all to try and find and be open to finding the lessons in each of these experiences at the most perfect time that's right for us. Taking one deep breath in now, holding, and then breathing out. So thank you once again. We always end with gratitude. If you did resonate with this episode and you liked it, please do remember to download, rate, review, subscribe and share. Share it with your friends, share it on your social media. It does just help get the message out and raise a little bit more awareness, because we all go through things, and although we're all very different, we are one and the same. So if this episode could help someone get through a difficult time, do your bit. It doesn't cost a thing. It takes mere seconds, and we both would really appreciate it. So I will see you on the next episode. Sending you love, light and blessings.